Oh my goodness. Why, oh why did I decide to travel for Christmas? I've been lost, wandering in this landscape for ages. Oh my gosh, it's really cold and really dangerous. My goodness. I probably should have brought some more resources with me because I have completely run out of everything useful. I haven't even got enough cobblestone to make a furnace, I don't have a crafting bench, and I have very little protection. If only I was a cyborg and I didn't need like food or water and I didn't mind the temperature. Never mind. Being a cyborg would actually be a terrible fate. I don't know why I'm talking about that. But still, I'm just talking crazy. I'm probably gonna die tonight if I don't find some shelter and some food and some water, most importantly, because I haven't had a drink in a while. I've been wandering for days. Did I mention that? I think I'm probably hallucinating and going crazy now. How in the world am I going to survive in this terrible place? Alright, so if I want to survive, I guess I need to focus on some very important things. Firstly, I need to get some shelter and some warmth because otherwise I'm going to freeze to death within hours. And then the next thing I need to worry about is probably, I don't even know, I can't think of anything else beyond that. But I know there are some very important things that I need to do in terms of staying alive. So I guess first I should look around for some useful resources. But it's just ice and snow everywhere, and dirt. I don't see... My gosh. Finally, luck is in my side once in my life. Let me just mine up this... Is that it? Oh no. Well, okay, there's only 2 pieces of wood here, but maybe I can make something useful out of it. No, I don't need a button. I can't craft anything out of this. I don't even have enough for a crafting bench. Fine, how about sticks? Does this help me make anything? I need warmth, I need food, I need water, and I need shelter. It's just sticks. Well, I've got an idea. Let's just go back to the survival basics. If I just rub 2 sticks together... Perfect! Hot embers. This should help me start a fire. So, let's just take one of these and, I don't know, let's just put it with some other sticks here. And then hopefully we'll be able to melt some of this ice with some fire, if we can create some fire. So let's try that. Ah! Ow! Oh. Well, that was almost bad. Ow. I probably need to worry about getting some food as well because, I mean, I'm very low on hunger. I'm gonna start starving to death soon if I'm not careful. So, but thank goodness. Ow! Ow! Okay. Can't get too close. But my gosh. Warmth of the fire is very nice. I think I might just sit here for a minute while I figure out what to do next. Alright, what else can I do here? Maybe I can create for myself some sort of awesome weapon with this other hot ember that I have, because I've got a bunch of cobble and maybe... Perfect! Fire rod! Where did that sheep come from? Maybe I can... Well, I've got a weapon now. This is great. Let's go kill that sheep real quick, because I am starving to death. Come here, sheep. I promise I'm not going to hurt you much. There's another one. And with this other wool that I'm getting too, I can also probably craft some sort of sleeping bag or bed. Ah, this is great. I think I might actually survive now. Things are looking up. What else can I do? Oh, perfect. I even have the startings to a little bit of a base. Let me just dig in here real quick. And then I think I'll be good to survive the night. And I might even be able to make it home for Christmas. Yes. Howdy folks, EJ here. I'm back as my lovable old cyborg self. Anyway, sorry about that whole acting thing. I just decided to do something fun and different and see what would happen. I did go a little bit long though, so I apologize for that. Anyway, back to the actual commands and stuff. So basically, if you haven't figured it out, this video is about custom crafting inside your inventory. Now, the unfortunate thing is that you can't actually test for temporary game states. For example, these slots. Since you can't actually store anything in these inventory slots, and they're only like temporary storage locations, you can't actually test for anything being in here. Same way as you can't test for a half-written book that you haven't hit done on or sign and close on. Which is unfortunate, but that's just a way Minecraft works. So I decided that I wanted to make custom crafting inside your inventory, simply because I thought it would be a cool idea, and I'd never seen anything like it before. Even though somebody else has probably come up with the idea, because on the internet, people come up with all sorts of crazy ideas. So, basically, what I decided to do was use this little 3x3 section as a custom crafting grid, and I would test for different items in here to make a recipe pop out here. Another thing I was trying with custom crafting was trying to fit all the information necessary to make a custom crafting recipe into one command block, so you can have one command block for each recipe. Unfortunately, that is not possible due to something that I guess we'll talk about later. One other note is that this is actually not a response to Ang456's response to Dragnus's response to Adrian Brightmore's response to Dragnus's response to Dragnus's video on custom crafting. I'm not going to go with all that craziness. I know there are a lot of different variations and methods of doing custom crafting. I just decided to do this one on my own because I hadn't seen anything like it and I thought it would be a fun project to work on. Of course, if you're looking for an easy way to do custom crafting, Ang456 has a really good video on how to do it in a very, very simple manner using a dropper. So basically you put down a dropper, put in your recipe, and then you use a couple of simple commands that, even if you're not good at command blocks, you should be able to follow very easily and make your own recipes. But if you want to do it this method, let's go ahead and talk about this method. So let's start simple. First of all, you probably want a gamerule command block output false, because using these commands will obviously generate a whole bunch of spam in your chat and in your server log. Once you've got that done, then you can come over here and scoreboard objectives add custom crafting dummy. This isn't really necessary, but it does make things a lot easier, and I did it because I wanted to be able to do a couple of other things, because not all of those command blocks are necessary for the recipe. These are just a couple of extra things like spawning sheep around me as I execute that particular recipe, so there are a couple extraneous command blocks that aren't really necessary to the mechanism there. But anyway, we'll get into the complicated stuff over there in just a second. First of all, let's do some demonstrations, and then it'll make it very clear why you can't do custom crafting in only one command block, using this particular method at least. What I have over here is basically just a fill clock. This fills the area from here over to there with redstone blocks, and then this one fills it with air. This one's executed first, it fills it to air, then this one is executed, thereby turning it off. So it forms a very, very fast clock that runs 20 times a second. If you don't know how to run one of these, there are plenty of tutorials on how to do that. But basically all it does is run all of these commands very, very quickly, so that anytime somebody uses a custom crafting recipe, it will test it and do everything that it needs to very, very quickly. These are the basic building block elements of what makes all of these work. Let's go ahead and check this command block. So this basically sets everybody's custom crafting score to 1 if their inventory matches a specific orientation. For example, this inventory is testing for in the slot 0B ID Minecraft diamond sword. So if I have in my first inventory slot right here a diamond sword, this comparator will turn on because the command block will have executed properly. So let's just put that in my first item slot and boom, there it is. If I move it 1 over, boom, turns off. And you can watch it turn on as many times as I do this. Now the same works for all of these things over here. So this one is testing for this one basically sets your custom crafting score if my inventory slot is the 10th slot and it's a diamond sword with a special tag on it. This special tag is a display name of knife. Basically what that means is if I change this diamond sword's display name to knife, then when I take it out and I put it in this particular spot, the comparator will light on. If you Google the Minecraft wiki page, it will actually show you a numbered list of all the different IDs for the inventory slots. As you can see, it goes from 0 to 8 in the hotbar, and then this is number 9 and this one's number 10. As you can see, I take this out, it turns off. As I put it in, it turns on. Basically, what this allows me to do is test for certain states of a person's inventory, and if their state is in the correct orientation, I can take that output and do something and then set their custom crafting score back to 0. So let's check out this one. I can check for any slot I want to, except for the crafting ones, obviously, and I can test for a variety of different tags and counts and stuff. For example, this one is testing for my head if I have a banner on my head. Now, if I go ahead and put a banner on my head, this one actually puts 45 black banners on my head. So my head is kind of really heavy. Now, this lights up whether I have 45, 22, but it doesn't light up when I have 0. The reason this happens is because it just kind of tests if there's something there. It doesn't test for a count. If I want to test for a count, I can do it like this. This one will only light up if my inventory has a cobblestone wall on my head, but only if it's 1, and not if it's like 2 or 49 or 55. And it also is testing if I have a diamond sword in my first slot. So this one will only work if both of these things are true, not just one, but both. So if I were to flick this lever here, Now I have 2 cobblestone walls on my head, and my diamond sword is not in the correct slot. So if I go ahead and take that out, and to make sure that this is just 1 cobblestone wall on my head, it still doesn't light up, because I don't have a diamond sword there now. But if I have the cobblestone wall on my head, only 1, and I have a knife in my hand, boom, it lights up. So this is a way that you can test for all sorts of game states. You can test for a certain number of items, you can test for an item in a specific location with a certain tag, names, all sorts of crazy stuff like that. So that's really useful for map makers and stuff like that. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this off of my head so I don't look like an idiot anymore. And we'll go ahead and look at these actual commands that I'm using. So for this one, this is the first recipe I did. I'm just testing for the inventory slots. 25 is a stick and 15 is a stick. Now, basically what this does is if I ever have a stick right here and a stick right here, then it will fill this spot with the replace item command. The replace item command is basically the way that I manipulate somebody's inventory after I find that they have a custom crafting score of 1, and after this comparator turns on to actually activate these command blocks. So this will fill in that slot of my inventory a magma cream too with the display of hot ember, and that's how I got it to have a data tag at the end of it as well. Unfortunately, this data tag is what caused me to need to use the scoreboard objective. It is what prevents me from using this method to create a custom crafting recipe in only 1 command block. The reason that is because you obviously can't use a data tag testing for a specific inventory and in the same command be putting in an item with a specific data tag. So it doesn't let you use the replace item entity with an execute on a player with a specific inventory. It just does not work that way. So you can't have 2 NBT data tags right next to each other. Hint hint, Mojang should let us do that. Even though it would be confusing, it would open up a lot more opportunities and be really cool. But that's just a request of mine. Anyway, so it fills that slot with magma cream, and then it fills this slot with air, and then it fills the original slot that it was testing for a stick in with air, and then it sets my custom crafting scores to 0, and there's obviously another one that sets the other stick to air. And one really important thing to note is that when you're testing for something in here, the slot is like, say, 16B. That is the data value for it with this particular identity for each of the Minecraft data slots. So this would be number 16 if you were testing for a specific inventory. But if you're doing replace item, it's a different thing, because the game with replace item decided to try to make things easier for you, and it says slot.inventory.16 and slot.hotbar and slot.armor and stuff like that. So it separates these 4 into slot.armor.head, slot.armor.chest, which is kind of annoying because now you can't access these with the replace item command with the same numbers that you would use for testing to see if an inventory is true. So if you test for slot 16 here, you want to replace, when you replace the item to get rid of it, you want to replace not slot 16, but slot number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, slot number 8 of only the inventory, not the hotbar or the armor and slots, and oh, it's crazy. So they messed up all the numbers, and you have to double check what you're doing before you go ahead and make your final choices. Now to watch it in action, let me grab 1 stick here, put 1 there, grab another one, put it there, and boom, as you can see, it activated real quick. Now I have 2 hot embers. Now this is actually cool because it doesn't really matter what else is around it. You can have whatever else in the way that you want, and as long as it has the correct recipe there, it will go ahead and make it happen. Unfortunately, as you just saw there, it is not testing for a specific count of items, so that if you accidentally put like 1 and then 5 sticks here, it'll do the same thing and only give you the same number. So you need to do these recipes one at a time if you're going to craft multiple ones. Of course, I could actually add a argument here, count equals 1b, and now it will only work if it is 1 stick and not 40 and not 32 like I just did. So now, as you can see, if I split this in half, it will not run because it's not working there. Another thing to mention is that if you don't take precautions, if I go ahead and put in the recipe here, then it will replace whatever's here. Even if I have something else there, it will replace it with whatever the recipe is. That's why it's very important that I have this other little mechanism over here. This mechanism, basically what it is doing is it is testing to see if the player has an inventory slot 26B filled. So basically how it does this is the slot in memory for your inventory does not exist until you put an item in there. So if I'm trying to talk about slot 26B and slot 26B happens to be air, it won't really do anything, and therefore this won't light up and none of this will happen. But if there's something in this slot in my inventory, say sticks, then it'll say, oh, that slot in memory exists, and it'll test for that slot, and it'll say, yes, it actually exists. Then it'll give me an output, and I can come over here and say, don't run any of these recipes because you'll replace whatever is in that slot in my inventory. So if I go ahead and take that out, now it will turn that off, which allows these command blocks to run, because if I'm powering them, obviously this power is not going to make them run more times, it's just going to be stopped because of the power coming in here. Then I can run the command and make the recipe work. Now that was a lot of words to say something very simple, but basically that is how it works. And then this is the other recipe where I test to see if you have inventory, slot 25, item, Minecraft magma cream, tag, display, name, hot ember. That just tests to see if it's that specific magma cream with hot ember. And then I test to see if those other two locations are working. Then this over here is basically executing at any player who has a custom crafting min score of 1. This is so that I can differentiate to not make it execute on any player in the world. And then it fills at that player fire. So that's why I lit myself on fire. And basically it just sets the inventory slots to air to make sure that the slots that I used are clear. So if I go ahead and put this here, now I'll light myself on fire, and it'll set all those slots to air. The reason that I think it's convenient to use this form of custom crafting is because if you have a really messy inventory like this, you can still do your custom crafting recipes as long as you can clear out enough space to do just the recipe, then boom, the recipe works. You don't actually need to clear out your entire inventory in this 3x3 grid. You can just still have a bunch of stuff there and it works fine. Also, it's obviously useful because you can do this anywhere in the world, as long as the command blocks are loaded in the spawn chunks or in chunks close enough to you to be working. And then the rest of these command blocks just set things to air. And then the last thing that it always does is it sets the score of custom crafting back to 0 so that I can execute another recipe without having anything altered, or without executing things accidentally on an incorrect player. This one over here is by far the most complicated recipe. It tests for 9 different slots in my inventory. I have cobblestone surrounding a stick and a hot ember, and then it forms a blaze rod with all sorts of awesome enchantments on it. This one, the custom enchantments are something to do with the NBT data over here, because I just gave it some NBT data tags like enchantment ID blah blah blah, ID blah blah blah. And I have a display name on it just to make it really cool, and it's filling the same spot in your inventory as usual. And of course, there are some extra command blocks to summon sheep around you to fill all those slots in your inventory that made up the spot. It's filling all those spots back into air, and then it just gives you the fire rod here. So that's how it works. It's actually pretty simple, but yeah, this is an interesting way to do custom crafting recipes inside your own inventory. They work anywhere in the world. Unfortunately, simply due to a couple things that I put in here, it is not compatible. This particular version is not compatible with multiplayer, but in terms of the concept, it is compatible with multiplayer and you can use it for anybody, anywhere in the world. And I think it's a really cool concept. So if you'd like to go ahead and use this, I will definitely put this world download in the description so that you can go ahead and check this out in further detail. But yeah, that is a basic tutorial on how to use testing for inventory slots with and without data tags, how to avoid accidentally clearing inventory slots that you don't want cleared, how to use the replace item command to replace items with NBT data and without NBT data, and most importantly, how to survive in a very, very small icy landscape that for some reason I had been wandering in for a very long time, when obviously it was clear that I was completely trapped in there and I should have given up and tried to dig my way out rather than wandering around, quote unquote, and trying to survive. But yeah, seeing how that's pretty much the concept explained away, maybe not in the best detail or in the best way, but now you guys understand the basic general idea of what I did. Hope you enjoy this and feel free to use it if you want. And again, if you don't feel like using all these complicated commands and testing for and using scoreboards and slot.inventory replace item and stuff like that, check out Ang456's video. He's got a very quick and easy video on how to use a dropper as a new type of crafting bench. So you can basically just plop down a dropper, put whatever your recipe is, and then it will transform into a dropper with your new recipe output that you decided on. But yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all later. Bye bye.